This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about the USDA Risk Management Agency with Duane Toews and Martin Barbe.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Martin Barbe. He is the administrator of RMA at USDA. And Martin, we think about opportunities in agriculture. New Farm Bill is kind of in the mix, if you will, but risk management obviously a key component of that, and that's what growers wanted, and USDA is going to provide.
Yeah, and Congress has been very clear that they want to make risk management a proper, an important part of a producer's risk management, and our policies do that. Congress did some things in the 18 Farm Bill that strengthened our crop insurance thing. There's a lot of things we're still working on. Obviously, we're not ready for timelines and this and that. We've got our work plans in place and getting those things out. There's a few things we can talk about that were in the Farm Bill that we did have ready to go, so we can talk about those.
Specifically, some of those points of interest for growers across the country, Martin.
Yeah, one of the things that the growers have been asking for a few years is a multi-county enterprise unit where a grower has an enterprise unit in one county. Maybe they've got a few fields in another county that by themselves wouldn't qualify for an enterprise unit. They can now bring those in underneath that enterprise unit and get the enterprise unit discount for all those entire acreage. It's a better deal for the producer. He gets a better premium subsidy, better deal for the government. It's a little less risk. That's why the premium's a little less. But it's just a good deal for everybody.
Talk about flexibility. Really, it's kind of been built into that with some of the changes in that regard.
Yes, absolutely. We want to be as flexible as we can, and yet we have to, I'm always preaching, we have to be actuarially sound because the American taxpayer funds this program, and so we want to do that. Some of the one of the things that's kind of been a focus at RMA the last couple of years, and Congress really pushed it, is the specialty crops. We're really expanding our coverage of specialty crops. I met with some strawberry growers yesterday trying to figure out if we can get a better policy for them down here in Florida. So, just things that's what we're doing. We're reaching out to these folks and trying to see what we can do to help them. I'm a farmer myself, so I understand it from their perspective. I think that helps me here. And, and we did in our, we have 10 regional offices across the country. And so in those regional offices, one of the things in the Farm Bill was we were supposed to have a specialty crop liaison. We already have those in place, so I think that will help us start expanding these coverages as fast as we can.
There were some changes as well and flexibility and choices of what kind of coverage you were going to have, not necessarily dictating the entire life of the Farm Bill this time around.
Yeah, that's more with the FSA side, but sometimes that does play into us as well. We're still working through those different aspects of how we make that work.
Other issues, Martin, from your perspective, from RMA for growers to consider as they work with FSA and utilize those programs that you administer?
Yeah, we want to make sure that producers have access to all the knowledge they need to understand our programs. There's a lot of knowledge on www.rma.usda.gov, but also I think producers, find yourself an agent, and there's an agent locator on our website as well. Find yourself an agent if you haven't had crop insurance, or make sure that you're talking to someone who understands your area and your needs, and I think that's really important. I think that's what makes our policies work a lot better.
I know the Crop Insurance Industry Association, they put out numbers annually. The coverage of what we're getting insured across the country continues to rise at a very high percentage of those acres in the country now are covered.
Yes, absolutely. We had about $109 billion in liability coverage in 2018, which is, in my mind, is pretty huge. It keeps going up. We also, at the same time, we're reducing our expenses. We're becoming more efficient in delivering those policies. Our cost per policy at RMA has gone way down on delivery, so we're doing it as efficient as we can and as effectively as we can.
Our thanks to Martin Barbe, administrator of RMA at USDA, joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground, and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. He said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.